Hey everybody, today we are talking about The Coffee Shop Masquerade by T.A. Morton. The Coffee Shop Masquerade is a story that takes place in a coffee shop in Hong Kong, and it is visited by several different people. The story begins with a mask that this man named Mario from Italy wants to dispose of. He's had it for a really long time. He and his sister just think it's time to get it passed on. They feel like maybe there's a spirit in the mask that it doesn't belong here, and their Nona found it a long time ago and just had it in her kitchen, and she felt like it was calling out to her, like she needed to take it home. And then while it was there for a while at her home, when it was getting close for her to pass on, she wanted her kids to take it back to where the mask really came from so that the spirit in the mask can finally go home. And so that's how this mask ends up in the middle of this coffee shop, because Mario just wants to just be free of it, and so he just ends up, he doesn't know exactly where it came from, exactly where to go, so he just leaves it at this coffee shop. While he's there, he strikes up a conversation with this man who looks very, hairy, more hairy than normal, and kind of bigger, and we find out that the reason for this is because it's Monkey. What is the Monkey King doing here in this story? And turns out that he is actually kind of trying to find the mask, and there's more that goes into that with Monkey, but he's kind of like a kind of in the background for most of the story, but he is in here, and so you know how much I love the Monkey King, so that was just like a fun little extra thing that I wasn't expecting to be in this story. Continuing on, Mario leaves us, and we are now greeted with different characters, and basically every chapter is kind of focused around different people. This story kind of reminded me of the movie Crazy Stupid Love, because there's lots of characters that you're following at different times during the story, and in some kind of a way they may be connected, or they may have some connection to each other. And so even though we're following all these different stories, we kind of can see where, oh wait, that character actually knows this other character, and now they're at the coffee shop together talking, and we've met this person before. And so you kind of have to remember who these people are and which chapters they came from previously, because there are some times where there will be several chapters before we are introduced to that character again that we had heard about before. And so they're kind of their own chapters, but also could appear in other people's chapters too. So you just have to make sure you remember each person's names, and then which story they belonged to. And all of these stories really mostly happen in this coffee shop. And then we meet the characters that are running the coffee shop. Patrick is the manager, Jasmine and Coco and Ruth are the ones that work at the coffee shop, and so they also kind of have their own chapter, and then they're in the other chapters too, since they run the shop. They're there for the other stories. So if you like stories that have lots of characters and that focus on them heavily, in their own chapters kind of a thing, then you'll probably like this book. I quite enjoyed it because there was actually a lot of depth in the stories when we had them. So even though they might have just had their own little chapter and the book's not terribly long, we still were able to see a lot about these characters. We get a lot about their personal lives, and for example, there's this one of a couple who are in the middle of a fight, and you don't really know what the fight was about until you keep reading, and then it's revealed why the woman is mad at her husband and what would have given her reason to feel that way. And so I just felt like the way that the characters were handling their situations and their problems and things were quite realistic. I liked that because sometimes when I'm reading things, I might be like, yeah, but would they really say that? Or would they really do that? And in this story, I felt like a lot of them were very relatable. Like, yeah, I think that is how I might react in this situation. Or this other character, that's how I would have reacted in this situation. Or I know somebody who would have done that exact same thing. And so it's just very relatable in the character traits, the characters' reactions to certain things. I feel like this author really hit them uh, in a really good way where you could relate to one of the characters in this story and be like, okay. And none of them were necessarily like bad people either. There is this one story that's a little questionable of in terms of morals. um but at the same time, none of them really seemed like they were, terrible people or anything. They were just people living their lives, and we just happened to hear about their lives while we were at this coffee shop. And the idea is kind of that we are hearing these stories like through like the mask. Like the mask is hearing these stories, and we're kind of being told these stories, but we're also kind of getting it maybe from the perspective of what the mask is seeing, because sometimes we forget, but the mask is there, and sometimes the characters will look at the mask and be like, why is this mask here? This doesn't fit the theme of this place. Or they might be like, oh, I wish I could put that mask on and become somebody else. Or like they make references to the mask being in that shop so that you still are like, oh yeah, there is that mask still there. And in the background, Monkey is still trying to get this mask back into his possession. And so it's like, oh, is he going to get it in this story? Is he going to get it now? Is the mask ever going to become back into Monkey's possession? So there's that kind of going in the background as well. So like I said, a very enjoyable story that is not too short, not too long. It's just kind of a perfect little cozy length. And yes, even though it does have the words coffee shop in the title, it is different than your typical coffee shop cozy books with the cats on the cover that we've been seeing so much lately. This one, I feel like this one is a little bit more in depth, like I said, with the characters and things, that it kind of separates it from being too cozy and too just, I just want to read this to have a good time. Like, this one will give you a good time, but it will also make you connect a little bit more, I think. And so there's the depth to this story, that to the characters, where you really could potentially see yourself as one of these characters or knowing one of these characters in your own life. And I think that's really good when you can read something that does go on that kind of a level, where it doesn't just seem like this fairy tale fictional story that is definitely fiction and people don't really act that way. I got a different reaction from this book, and I really liked that about it. The characters are all quite different from each other. They all are kind of their own people, and so we get a freshness with each of these interactions and how they would react to certain situations. I just liked it. So yeah, so if this sounds interesting to you, go for it. Go get the book, read it. Thank you so much for Earnshaw Books giving me an early copy of this book to read. I figured that I would enjoy it because of the title and how that's very trendy right now, but was pleasantly surprised when it wasn't like exactly the same, and that it was a little bit deeper. And yeah, everything that I have said about it up to this point, like, it was a pleasant surprise, and it made me actually really enjoy reading it. So if you think you'd be interested in it, go ahead and pick it up. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.